To begin, I want to know if I'm doing it right. Does it say Jean-Claude Van Damme or Jean-Claude Van Damme? It's actually Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yes. In the 1980s and 1990s, Jean-Claude Van Damme was one of the most familiar faces in action movies. But since then, he hasn't been in as many big-budget movies, and more of his movies are coming out straight on DVD. Even though his work has changed, this action hero has a lot of interesting stories that people have forgotten or stopped remembering. Many parts of his personal life have stayed out of the public eye, and his path has not been easy. Recently, rumors have been going around that he died too soon. We are going to look into these tales and find out what the real story is about Jean-Claude Van Damme. Van Damme's early life, Jean-Claude Camille Francois Van Varenberg, was born on October 18, 1960, in Berksham St. Agathe, Brussels, Belgium. He was the son of Eliana and Eugene Van Varenberg, who worked as a gardener and an accountant. His father is from Brussels and speaks both English and French, and his mother is Flemish and speaks Dutch. Van Damme grew up as a Romish Catholic. His grandma on his dad's side was Jewish. His upbringing in a bilingual home gave him a wide range of culture experiences. He was physically strong from a very young age, which is how he got the nickname the Muscles from Brussels when he was only 10. His father took him to martial arts school, which was the start of his rise to fame. When Van Damme was younger, he looked up to superheroes in comic books. This made him want to improve himself and start a tough training program. Only 11 years old, he began learning karate at the Centre National de Karate in Belgium, where Master Claude Goetz taught him. In the end, he joined the Belgian national team and had a lot of success with them. He won the middleweight championship of the European Professional Karate Association. Besides martial arts, he was also very interested in bodybuilding and dancing, which he did for 5 years. His commitment to ballet, even though most people thought it was hard because it required a lot of physical work, helped him get stronger and more flexible. Maurice Bert, a famous dancer, saw how talented Van Damme was and offered to include him in his group. But the kid's mind was on something else. He had earned a black belt in karate by the time he was 18, as well as the prestigious title of Mr. Belgium at a fitness competition. In his own words, karate changed him physically and mentally and gave him the desire to become a movie star. Because he was so good at both karate and dance, Van Damme was able to make a name for himself in Hollywood. In his martial arts career, he won a lot of awards and had an amazing run of only losing one fight. He has an excellent record of 44 wins and 4 losses in light kickboxing games, which shows that he is very good at contact sports. But his biggest dream was to be a movie star, and he worked hard to make that dream come true. That being said, becoming famous is never easy. What did he do to get through the ups and downs? What were the bumps in the road? And how did he finally beat his addiction? The good and bad times on the way to fame. At the age of 19, Van Damme married Maria Rodriguez, a beautiful woman from Venezuela. Also, he has a lot of knowledge with marriage because he has been married 5 times to 4 different women. You did hear that right. 5 times, 4 people. His ups and downs in marriage show that his real life is not steady, despite how he acts on screen. It was said that the wedding to Mrs. Rodriguez was set up because Mrs. Rodriguez was so rich, but it turned out that these were just stories. Before they decided to get married, they dated for 2 years. She also helped Van Damme reach his job goals by paying for the opening of his California gym. His quick success in martial arts quickly caught the attention of people in the business, including Mike Anderson and Gert Lemons. He quit martial arts and divorced his wife after 4 years to follow his acting dreams. He knew he had what it takes to become a world superstar, and this made him even more determined to do whatever it takes. Van Damme started a new part of his life in the early 1980s, one that made him famous all over the world. He set out from Belgium to the United States with his friend Michel, carrying only $3,000 and not knowing much English. In their hearts, they only wanted to follow the American dream and become famous as movie stars. The fact that Van Damme had learned karate gave him a lot of confidence, which helped him get ahead. But after the initial wave of positivity, he went through a time of hardships that made him wonder if moving was really the best thing to do. Eventually, he ran out of money and had to sleep in his car because he had nowhere else to go. He never gave up, though. He never took his eyes off of his goals, and soon he could see the light at the end of the tunnel. His big break came from small parts, like being an extra in the 1984 hip-hop dance movie Breaking. He also became friendly with martial arts star Chuck Norris, which gave him chances to work with Norris and even a part in the stunt film for the 1984 movie Missing. But Van Damme still couldn't find real success in the sense that the word is used. He had a lot of hurdles on his way to fame, which made him have to do odd jobs to make ends meet. In the middle of all this drama, his personal life went through big changes, like getting married and getting divorced. His relationship was unstable. His second wife, Cynthia, said that their time together was rough. They were married for 3 months at most. Van Damme was having a hard time in his personal life, but he was still determined to become a Hollywood star. A short time later, his hard work paid off in ways that no one could understand. Van Damme, the movie star. Van Damme's big break in Hollywood came in 1986, when he got his first big part as the bad guy Ivan from Russia in the martial arts movie No Retreat, No Surrender. This was a turning point in his career that put him even more in the public eye. The next year, he got a part in an early version of the movie Predator, as the main figure, but when he found out that he wouldn't be showing off his karate skills, he quit the project. He made this choice because he was dedicated to the art of martial arts. After a long time of hard work, Bloodsport was finally released. This movie made him famous all over the world. The real-life martial artist Frank W. Dux was played by Van Damme in the movie. The way he played the part captivated viewers and led to big movie roles for him. After Bloodsport did well, Van Damme became a well-known action star. But even as his fame as an action star grew, his domestic life kept changing. Going through a big change in his life was his marriage to Gladys, an American bodybuilding winner. He was now stable and had constant care, as he continued to move up the Hollywood star ladder. In movies like Black Eagle, he played Russian bad guys, which showed how versatile he was. After Bloodsport became a huge hit, Cannon Films would go to him and make a very important choice. Between Delta Force, American Ninja, and Cyborg, he had to pick the lead part in one of the three movies. Albert Poon was in charge of all the movies, Van Damme being himself, and this was the start of a new movie journey for him. Poon had originally wanted Chuck Norris to play Cyborg because Norris was friends with Cannon Phi. However, Van Damme ended up getting the part, even though it only paid $50,000. Cyborg started out as a sequel to the movie Lords of the Universe, but it turned into a full-length movie. Making the movie wasn't easy. Characters didn't talk to each other much, and there wasn't much action. But all of that would change if there was a terrible accident. There was an accident on set with a rubber knife that left stuntman Jackson the Rock partially blind. Van Damme, who could face major legal consequences, brought up claims that he used too much force on set in the past. Even with all the problems, Cyborg opened in over 830 theaters across the country and made more than $3 million in its first weekend, which was more than expected. Later movies in the Cyborg series, however, failed to repeat the success of the first movie. At the same time, Van Damme was the star of Kickboxer, which showed off his Shotokan karate skills. People all over the world really liked Kickboxer. It made more than $50 million on a budget of only $3 million. He was also very important in starting the Kickboxer brand. All four of the movies that came after it didn't have him in them, but he did come back as a different character in the reboot series. Death Warrant, which came out in 1990, and was the first script that David S. Goyer worked on, starring him. He also played the lead role in Lionheart that year. The director of Lionheart was Sheldon Lettich, who also worked on Bloodsport, and said it was the first movie that showed Van Damme was more than just a one-hit wonder karate artist who would never make it past simple, low-budget karate movies. Van Damme also showed his rear end, which Lettich says was a very memorable moment for both the women and the gay men in the crowd. After that, he almost made it his brand to show off his butt, whether he was dressed or not. Double Impact came out in 1991. Lettich directed it, and Van Damme plays both Alex and Chad Wagner, two twin boys who have grown apart and are now fighting to get revenge for the deaths of their parents. When it first opened, it got mixed reviews. Variety didn't like the story and thought the movie would be a disappointment, but the Los Angeles Times said it was great. In its first 28 days, the movie made $23 million. In the United States, it made $30 million altogether. In hindsight, critics think it's a fun action movie with some funny parts and that Van Damme does a great job playing two different roles. He was in Universal Soldier, a sci-fi action movie directed by Roland Emmerich and released by Kuroko in 1992. It was one of the biggest hits of the year. Van Damme plays Soldier Luke Devereaux and Dolph Lundgren plays Sergeant Andrew Scott. Both actors are American and fight in the Vietnam War, who shoot each other dead when Devereaux finds out that Scott has gone crazy and started cutting up bystanders. Later, they are brought back to life as part of a secret army project along with a lot of other troops who had died and are sent on a mission. At the 1992 Cannes Film Festival, Van Damme and Lundgren got into a verbal fight that almost turned physical when both men pushed each other. They were eventually separated, but everyone thought it was just a PR stunt. Universal Soldier came out in theaters on July 10, 1992. It was a middling success in the US, with $36 million in ticket sales, but a huge hit around the world, with over $65 million in ticket sales. The movie made a total of $102 million worldwide, with a $23 million budget. He was considered for the part of Simon Phoenix in Demolition Man, and for a short time for the part of Michael Cherito in Heat. He had a small role in Last Action Hero and played the lead role in Nowhere to Run in 1993. Van Damme and Columbia Pictures agreed to make 3 movies together, and this was the first one. He was paid $3.5 million for it. Columbia said that the movie speaks to and goes beyond his viewers. He played the lead role in Hard Target for Universal Pictures in 1994. It was John Woo's first movie set in the United States. He also played a time-traveling police officer in Time Cop, which came out that same year. The movie, which was directed by Peter Hyams and made over $100 million worldwide, was a huge hit. It is still his highest-grossing movie as a major actor. In the same year, he played the lead role in Street Fighter, a movie based on the video game written and directed by Stephen E. D'Souza for Universal. Critical reviews were not good. Even though it sold well, it's about 3 times what it cost to make. Van Damme and Hyams worked together again on Universal's 1995 movie Sudden Death. Van Damme plays a firefighter from the Pittsburgh Fire Bureau who was born in France and Canada and had a mental breakdown after he failed to save a girl from a house fire. He has been shifted to being the fire marshal for the Pittsburgh Civic Arena since he is no longer on active duty. When terrorists take the US Vice President and some other important people hostage in a fancy room while a game is going on. The movie did okay at the box office. The Quest, which came out in 1996, featured all of him. The movie didn't do well at the box office in the United States, but it did better abroad and was a commercial hit. In that year, he was in The One After the Super Bowl, a 2-part episode of the TV show Friends. He was also in Maximum Risk, Ringo Lam's first American movie and their first movie together. The movie did pretty well at the box office. The next movie he made was Double Team, an action sci-fi movie with basketball star Dennis Rodman. It was T. Zwi Hark's first movie in the United States. In 1998, he worked with Hark again on the bad movie Knockoff. In the same year, Van Damme was in the war movie Legionnaire. It only came out in theaters outside of the US, even though it cost $35 million to make. After this movie did well, he was in Universal Soldier in 1999. In The Return, he comes back as Luke Devereaux. The movie did not do well at the box office. It opened at number 4. He also played the lead role in Inferno that year. He would take a long break from movies and then come back in 2010 with Full Love, a movie that he directed himself. In the same year, he turned down the part of Gunnar Jensen in the first movie in the Expendables series. Dolph Lundgren got the part instead. He didn't want to be limited, so he tried voiceovers later on. In 2011, he did the voice of Master Croc in the computer-animated movie Kung Fu Panda 2. He plays a character in the movie who helps the heroes from the last movie. They both worked together in the movie Assassination Games that same year. This was also in 2011. He had a part in the French sitcom Boucher El Avel. In the same year, he was also the star of his reality TV show Behind Closed Doors. The show shows his family life, his problems, and a fight that's coming up. Since 2009, he has been planning to meet Samluk Kamsing, who won an Olympic gold medal in boxing. The fight was a big part of his Behind Closed Doors reality show on ITV. The fight has been put off several times. Many critics don't think it will happen, especially since it's hard to book the space. He was in the Russian comedy Rozhevsky V's Napoleon in 2012, and he also played lead roles in Dragon Eyes, Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning, and 6 Bullets. In the same year, he played the main bad guy in The Expendables 2. In the movie series, a group of mercenaries go on a job that turns into a hunt for revenge against another mercenary. The movie did well, making over $310 million around the world. It was his big return to the action genre. Nick Dissemblian of Empire said that Van Damme's cocky, plutonium-crazed bad guy and Lundgren's action troll were the best parts of the movie. He was also seen in the ring with Kam Singh when Kam Singh fought Jamaat Kiat-Taditsak that same year. He was also in ads for Coors Light Beer and Dash Laundry Detergent, which showed him on a snowy mountain wearing a denim jacket with no sleeves. In his home city of Brussels on October 21, 2012, a life-size statue of him was constructed to celebrate him. In front of the press, he said, "Belgium is paying me back something, but it's to pay back the dream. When people come by, it's not Jean-Claude Van Damme, but a regular guy who stood for something. That's what I want the figure to show." He was in the comedy Welcome to the Jungle in 2013. The same year, he played the main bad guy in the American action movie Enemies Closer, which was directed by Peter Hyams. A Volvo Trucks ad posted on YouTube on November 13, 2013, shows Van Damme doing the splits while sitting on a box truck going backwards and placing each foot on the outside rearview mirror of a semi-trailer truck, which he calls the most epic of splits in the AD. The video quickly went popular on the web. In the first week, it got 35 million views, up from 11 million in 3 days. People called it the epic split. In 2016, he did the character of Master Croc again in the 3rd movie in the Kung Fu Panda series. In the same year, he was in Kickboxer Vengeance, which was directed by John Stockwell. It is a remake of the first one, in which he played the lead role. He also played the lead role in the TV show Jean-Claude Van Damme that same year. He went back to his part in Kickboxer Retaliation, a follow-up to the reboot, because he felt like he had unfinished business with the franchise. He was in Blackwater that same year. It also stars Dolph Lundgren. This is the 5th time that these two actors have worked together, but this is the first time that they play friends on screen. He played the lead role in Julie Leclerc's The Bouncer on August 22nd, that same year. Since it was fun for him to play the Croc in Kung Fu Panda, he did voice work again in 2022 for the computer-animated movie Minion: The Rise of Gru as Jean-Claude. He voiced and looked like Johnny Cage in the fighting game Mortal Kombat 1. There are disagreements. Van Damme played a martial artist named Frank Dux in the movie Bloodsport. In 1997, Dux sued Van Damme for $50,000 for co-writing and consulting on the 1996 movie The Quest. The claim also said that Dux accused him of lying to the public about his martial arts fight record, saying that Van Damme didn't have any martial arts skills when Dux taught him while Van Damme was working as a carpet installer. Martin Singer, Van Damme's lawyer, replied that there are records that show how good he is at martial arts. Why just watch his movies? He didn't get those parts because of how good an actor he was. He is the one who sits on chairs and does those splits. That can't be done by his stuntman. Also, things got tense between Van Damme and bodyguard stuntman Chuck Zito when Zito started dating Darcy Lapierre, Van Damme's ex-wife. Zito was said to be upset about Lapierre's divorce claim that Van Damme had abused her. The New York Daily News said on February 6, 1998, that Zito had punched Van Damme the night before at the Score strip club in Manhattan, New York. Zito had been Van Damme's bodyguard and did stunts for the movie Nowhere to Run. In his 2002 autobiography, Street Justice, he wrote about the event and said that he broke his hand by hitting Van Damme several times after Van Damme said bad things about him to a club bouncer, who then told Zito what he said. When Van Damme denied on Inside Edition a few days after the event that Zito had hit him, he encouraged Zito to fight him. In October 2011, Van Damme and other famous people like Hilary Swank, Vanessa Mae, and Seal were criticized by human rights groups for going to an event in Grozny, the city of Russian federal subject Chechnya, on the 5th of October, which was the 35th birthday of Chechen President Ramzan Kadyrov. Human rights groups told the celebrities to cancel their appearances because of the abuses that happened under Kadyrov, but the celebs still went to the event. Human Rights Watch said in a statement that Ramzan Kadyrov is connected to a long list of terrible violations of human rights. It's not right for stars to get paid to party with him, and being a part of such a fancy show in Chechnya makes the pain of the many people who have been violated human rights there seem less important. Van Damme says that by the middle of the 1990s, the stress of constantly making movies and promoting them led him to become addicted to cocaine, which he spent up to $10,000 a week on, and by 1996 ate up to 10 grams a day. In 1999, he was caught for driving while drunk. The drug rehab programs he tried didn't work, so he ended his addiction by stopping altogether and working out. He was told he had bipolar disease in 1998. He talked about it on the British reality show Behind Closed Doors in 2011 and said, "Sometimes you're going to like me and sometimes you're going to hate me. What should I do? I'm not perfect, I'm very depressed and take medicine for it." When I was younger, I had mood swings in the morning. The sky was blue when I was going to school, but it looked black to me. He was married 5 times to 4 different women before 1992. His third wife was athlete Gladys Portuguese, and they have 2 children together, Christopher and Bianca Bree. He had been seeing actress Darcy Lapierre, and they got married in February 1994. They have a son called Nicholas from this marriage. He slept with Kylie Minogue, who played his co-star in Street Fighter while they were shooting in Thailand that same year. In ads for Coors Light beer, Van Damme would stand on a snow-covered mountain while wearing a denim jacket with no sleeves. He would be in more commercials after that one. In his city of Brussels on October 21st, 2012, a life-size statue of him was shown in honor of him. He told the press when the figure was unveiled, "Belgium is paying me back, but it's really to pay back the dream." When people come by, it's not Jean-Claude Van Damme, but a regular guy who believes in something. I want the statue to represent that another Volvo Trucks ad featuring Van Damme came out on YouTube in November 2013. It showed Van Damme doing the epic splits while standing on 2 rearview mirrors of 2 Volvo trucks. People quickly shared the video, and in its first week, it got more than 35 million views. Van Damme was in more movies, both in the US and other countries. He played both lead and supporting parts. In 2023, he used both his real name and a picture of himself as Johnny Cage in the game Mortal Kombat. After getting his big break in Hollywood, Van Damme's life was like a dream. This includes the love he got from both men and women and the parts he played that got good reviews. But his life wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Let us take a look at the problems that included him. There were problems and reports that Jean-Claude Van Damme had died too soon. It was in 1997 that Frank Dux sued Van Damme for $50,000. The martial artist Van Damme played in Bloodsport said he helped write the movie and was also spoken to about it. Dux also said Van Damme had lied about his past and how much he knew about martial arts. Say that Van Damme had not shown any knowledge of the martial arts skills he had said he had in the past during their talks. Martin Singer, Van Damme's lawyer, responded to those claims and said they were not true. There are records of how well he did in martial arts. Why? Watch some of his movies. He didn't get those parts because of how good an actor he was. He is the one who sits on chairs and does those splits. Because of all the trouble, he doesn't have a stuntman to do. An upsetting rumor went around the internet that Jean-Claude Van Damme had died at the age of 62 after a long sickness that was not named. This false story spread quickly on social media, making his fans confused and upset. The rumor was quickly disproved, showing how famous news on the internet is often spread without being checked. In a world where gossip and speculation are common about famous people, this event shows how unstable the balance of fame can be. Chuck Zito, when Van Damme's bodyguard and stuntman Chuck Zito started dating Darcy Lapierre, who he used to be married to, it caused more trouble. Lapierre said that Van Damme abused her while they were trying to get a divorce, and Zito supposedly didn't like it and decided to handle the situation himself. The New York Daily News said that Zito punched Van Damme at the Scores strip club in Manhattan on February 6, 1998. Zito had been Van Damme's protection and did stunts for the movie Nowhere to Run. In his 2002 book, Zito wrote that he broke his hand by punching Van Damme several times at the club after Van Damme said some mean things about him to a club bouncer. A few days later, Van Damme denied the claims when he went on Inside Edition and dared Zito to a fight. Thanks for seeing. Please join our channel and watch one of our other interesting movies.